So in my last video I made this. It's a replica of the Deathstalker weapon used by the character Wolf in the show Kipo in the Age of Wonderbeasts. Now after I finished, I posted a bunch of photos and videos online, and the creator of the webcomic the show is based on, as well as the show itself, actually saw it and really liked it. Then we ended up talking on Instagram about what the show would look like if it was made in real life, and it was just dope. We just had a good old chat. Anyway, the entire interaction got me so psyched up about the show that my daughter and I watched the entire thing again and then decided to do a whole cosplay based on the character that uses this stuff. If you haven't seen the show, the character is called Wolf because she wears the skin of a wolf over her head. So we had to make that, and here's how we did. I'm all about frugality on this channel, so to make the internal structure of the wolf cape, I decided to scavenge some foam pieces from other costumes that I don't use anymore. I got the main pieces from an old Wastelander Pikachu costume that I wore to a few conventions that's just kind of sitting in my shed. I started cutting it up and rearranging the parts. I used contact cement to reattach bits where I needed them and ended up with a good base to start adding fur onto. It doesn't really matter what it looks like at this stage because none of this will be visible, and it's lucky it doesn't matter what it looks like because it looks weird as hell. The one part of this that actually will be visible though is the underside part, which is kind of like the roof of the wolf's mouth. So I added a flat piece of foam and scored it with a scalpel to simulate the ridges that the version from the show seems to have. I hit it with a heat gun just to seal it, and then I spray painted it pink. I'll do more detail on it later. Now it's time for the fur, and luckily I had the skin of a teddy bear lying around in my backyard, but I'm not just a freak, there's a reason. I made this steampunk teddy bear mask a little while ago for a video. I bought the teddy bear to get the face, but it didn't need the skin. I kept it though because I knew I would need it someday. I just essentially cut a bunch of fur out and stuck it onto the base with contact cement. The good thing about the fur is it's pretty forgiving on your mistakes. You can't really see the seam lines where two patches join up because the fur overlaps and kind of blends it all in. We did a quick test fit for the length of the chin straps, and then we were good to proceed. Now for the actual cape part of the wolfskin, I had to use something different because the teddy bear wasn't big enough, so I had to cut up a fake fur vest I had in my scrap pile. It was actually there because my mum gave it to me one day saying, here you go, you can use this to make something weird one day. Mum, you're correct. So once it was all attached, it was time to get the thing blue because the fur in the show is of course blue. Now in my last video when I made the staff, I wanted to keep the cartoony proportions and design but add a realistic texture. Now I wanted to do the same with this cape, that's why the dimensions of the head are so kind of cartoony and enlarged. But for the color, I didn't want something that looked kind of fake. The method that I ended up doing was to get blue acrylic paint and just kind of massage it into the fur, and I realize now it looks like I'm just patting a dog in that footage. Who's a good wolf, severed wolf head? Yes, you are. Anyway, the reason I chose to do this method is because then the more natural color that was already on the fur kind of still showed through underneath, and in my opinion it kind of makes the blue look a little bit more believable as like a real color for fur. Now quickly before I did the coloring of the fur on the face, I cut out some holes for the eyes and stuck in some craft foam under there for something to paint on, and then it was time to do the rest of the fur. Essentially I did that the same way. I used some white for the fur markings on the face, I used pink for the inside of the ears, and some black for the very tips of the ears to match the one in the show. At this point I spray painted the inside of the thing pink, and then it was time to do some teeth. Now to make the teeth, I went on my Instagram and just had a look at some of the amazing photos on there. Wait a minute, that's not how I made the teeth. Sorry, I've just accidentally done a plug for my Instagram, which is, you should follow, but that was an accident. Link below. For the teeth, for real, what I actually did was just get some little pieces of balsa wood because they are super easy to carve and it's not a very complicated shape that I do need to carve. I just got a scalpel, kind of shaved them up and painted them white and then contact cemented them on. Now to add the detail to the mouth, like I said I was going to do earlier, I got a bunch of tissue paper and stuck it all on there in crumpled layers with PVA glue. You can see when it dries, it makes a pattern that's pretty similar to what you might see on the roof of a mouth, and when you give that a bunch of layers of different pinks and reds, it really looks good. Then it was time for the actual clothes that Wolf wears, which luckily are not really that complicated at all. I got a black t-shirt and some grey pants from a thrift store. Obviously we had to do a test fit. They were both too long, that's fine though, because the bits that I chopped off of the t-shirt I used as the little wrist wrappings that the character wears, and the pants in the show are kind of constantly rolled up, so I cut them and glued them folded up so they kept that perfect kind of rolled up shape. I used some black spray paint to lightly weather the pants to make them a little bit more worn looking, and I also did that to the whole cape. I didn't get much footage of the process of making the eyes, but I wanted them to look really gross because they're eye sockets that are empty. So I really thickly applied a whole bunch of acrylic paints in different pinks and reds and even some really dark browns. Just kind of globbed them in there, let them dry up really thick. It looks good, I think. That looks gross. Anyway, after that, it was finished. So that was our wolf cosplay. Did you have fun? Say smash that like button, but say it like in a cute way so they'll actually do it.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, guys. Say that.
Smash that like button, guys. Peace out.
It's not bad. Alright, bye. Thank you. Subscribe.